All right, let's talk about the parameters of a gap. So hopefully you think you found a gap or you think you're getting close to a gap. And so this might help you start narrowing that gap down into what we're going to be using in our papers. So what you're going to do is the first thing is you're just going to come up with a question. What question will you be trying to answer? So if you've been researching this topic, you are an expert on your topic, you have spent this last month researching this topic, and you know what's out there now. So now you're looking at what's not out there. And when you decide, okay, I can't find any information on this piece of this topic, then you have to ask a question. What's the question that you're going to try to answer that's going to fill that gap in your topic? And then you need to look at purpose. What will be achieved by answering this question? What are you going to actually explore or explain or create that's new? Context and scope. What would be the parameters of the research? In other words, are you looking at a specific time, a specific place, a specific population, a specific genre? This is where we have to start narrowing that down. You want to make it everything about what you're researching as specific as you can. Okay? We're going to look at some examples. Variables. What are the parts or the components that can be counted or measured? In other words, what data are you going to gather? How are you going to test your hypothesis? Remember that a hypothesis is the answer you think you're going to get. So when you ask that question, then you think you know what answer you might get. How are you going to test if your answer is correct or not? What data do you need to gather to find out if you have the right answer to your question? And then value. Why? That's the whole basis of this parameter is why. Why is the question valuable? Why is it important or significant to the body of knowledge or for the discipline or for society at large? Why would anyone besides you care about finding the answer? Feasibility. This is huge. How can you, a high school student, execute this project to give an answer in the given time frame? In other words, what resources and time can you dedicate to this? Please remember, people who do research for a living spend years on one research question. They will spend years doing experiments, years following people in a case study, years doing interviews, years gathering data. You don't have years. How can you, a high school student, answer that question with the resources you have available in the next couple months? Okay. So let's look at an example. What are the ill effects of cyberbullying? Is that a good question or a bad question? Well, let's look at our parameters again. Purpose. Does it say what's going to be explored, explained, or created? I mean, it does say ill effects. So, what bad effects come from cyberbullying? But is that anything new? No, we've been looking at cyberbullying now for a while, so it doesn't really give us any new information. Does it give us specific time, place, population, or genre? Not really. Does it indicate what data will be gathered? Well, the ill effects of cyberbullying, I guess, is kind of the data. That's pretty broad data. Oops. Is it important to the body of knowledge or society? Well, yeah, it's important. Ill effects, anything with ill effects is going to be important, right? If it's causing ill effects, that's going to be important. But feasibility, can a high school student find the answer in the time frame and resources available? Do you think a high school student in the next few months could actually find new information on the ill effects of cyberbullying? I find that hard to believe. So let's narrow it down a little more. Okay, what if we said, what are the ill effects of cyberbullying associated through punitive measures? Okay, now we're being a little more specific here, right? The data we're going to gather is now more specific. We're looking at the ill effects of cyberbullying through punitive measures. So when someone gets in trouble for cyberbullying, what are the ill effects that come with that? So that's more narrow. We have on our variables here what data we're going to gather here. But let's keep going. What are the ill effects of cyberbullying through punitive measures at middle schools? Okay, now we're getting into this context and scope. Now we're getting into a more specific population and place. Middle schools. But still, middle schools around across the United States, that's still huge. How are you going to gather data from all the middle schools in the United States, right? So we're not done yet. Now we still need to keep going. What are the ill effects of cyberbullying through punitive measures at 4 middle schools in XYZ school district? Okay, so now we're really getting that place and population down, because now a high school student, this is getting more feasible too. A high school student could gather data on the ill effects of cyberbullying through punitive measures at specific middle schools in their district, in their school district, right? So we're starting to get, now we're getting more of a purpose. We know what's going to be explored. We're going to look at ill effects of cyberbullying when students are being punished at these specific schools. We have specific place, we have a specific population, middle school, this district. We know what data we're going to be gathering. We're only going to be looking very specifically at the ill effects of students who have gotten in trouble for cyberbullying. So our data is going to be a little more specific there. Is it valuable? Again, anything that you think is going to have ill effects on people is going to be valuable. And then feasibility. Can a high school student do this? Yeah. You can talk to middle school principals. You can gather middle school data. You can talk to middle school students. You absolutely can make this happen in our school district at very select middle schools that you have ties to. Okay, but we can even go a little bit farther. What are the ill effects of cyberbullying through punitive measures at 4 middle schools in XYZ school district? A case study. Now we really are, this case study piece, now we really are getting into that variables here. The data that's going to be gathered, it's going to be a case study. We're going to look at specific situations, specific cases of the cyberbullying where kids got in trouble and the ill effects that happened based on that. So now we are very specific in what we're doing. We've met all of these parameters in a very specific way through this one question. So that's what we're looking at. We're looking at taking your big idea, your big topic, writing a question for it, and then using these parameters to make that question very specific. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to email me. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.